happy Women's Day. I am Professor Rashmi Urkude here to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Shokoofeh Shamsi. Shokoofeh Shamsi is professor at Gulbali Institute, School of Animal and Veterinary Sciences, Sturt University, Australia. Professor Shamsi's research is focused on parasites, especially those causing diseases in humans and animals. She started her career as a research fellow at Iranian Fisheries Research Institute. She received scholarship from Australian government and University of Melbourne to undertake PhD. She worked as a director and senior research fellow in Department of Marine and Freshwater Health and Disease in Iran, followed by a postdoctoral at RMIT University, Melbourne. After that, she joined Sturt University. In addition to this, Shamsi also received graduate certificate in university leadership and management and in learning and teaching from CSU. Shamsi also completed her MPH. Professor Shamsi is not only great academician but great researcher also. She has published more than 150 research papers and got more than 2,500 citations. Her research H index is 26. That's great, Shamsi. Professor Shamsi has discovered several new pathogens. This led to receiving prestigious award including a recognition medal from Indian Society for Parasitology and award from Australian Academy of Science for an international visit to Japan. Professor Shamsi also received elsewhere recognition for her highly cited paper. In addition to academic and research, Shamsi is also on various professional bodies. Professor Shamsi is Executive Secretary of Australian Society for Parasitology. She is also Assessor of Australian Research Council. She is editor of many reputed journals, including Elsewhere. She is executive member of this council and academic senate of CSU. She is also associated with Senior Women Forum and UN. So we are very happy to have such a great researcher and academician from Australia is with us. I request Professor Shamsi to deliver her talk.
Hi everyone. I am very excited to be here with you, of course, virtually from Australia on this very important day, I believe, for humanity and for all of us on planet Earth, regardless of our gender orientation. Happy International Women's Day. My name is Shokoofeh Shamsi, and I'm a professor in veterinary sciences at Sturt University. I work in School of Agricultural, Environmental, and Veterinary Sciences, and also in Gulbali Institute in Sturt University. Let me tell you a little bit about university itself before I go into the main topic of the presentation. Sturt University in Australia is located in the southeastern part of Australia. So if that's the map of Australia, this is the area that university and its campuses all are located. It's a multi-campus university with campuses on the coast, but also in inland Australia. So we do a lot of agricultural research, education research, policing, and a diverse range of studies. And many of you, several of you may have been already on campus. I had the privilege to host Indians, students, academics from all backgrounds in our campuses. So after this short introduction, let's also begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. And for me in Australia, it's Wiradjuri country, Indigenous Australians that were on this land before. And I like to pay my respect to their elders, past and present. Also, I like to extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people that may be here today among our audience. And it's really good, wherever we are now, we just reflect on the land we are and the custodian of the lands that live in that area, past and present. So today is International Women's Day, and I'm privileged to be one of the speakers and contribute a little bit as much as I can. And I'd like to thank Professor Vasha for inviting me to do this presentation. So as you know, International Women's Day is a global day that celebrates social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women in all countries and from all different backgrounds. Maybe it is good also we reflect on when International Women's Day started, what's the history behind it. Of course, many of you already know, but it's always good not to forget the history. Interestingly, history of International Women's Day is not that long, actually. It goes back to the labor movements in the early 1900s, actually. And it started when Clara Zetkin, who was a leader in Germany's Social Democratic Party, pitched the idea at a big conference in Copenhagen, in Denmark, actually, in 1910. And soon it was welcomed by many women, but also men and everyone else. And over 100 women from 17 different countries totally got behind it. The very first International Women's Day, the next year, 1911, got held on March 19th with all kinds of meetings and protests happening across Europe. And one of the protests even had 30,000 women hitting the streets. So it was really, really historical movement. And it just shows how much people just were waiting for this. Then in 1913, they decided to make it official on March 8th. And now we've been celebrating this International Women's Day on 8th March since then. So International Women's Day isn't just another date on the calendar. It's been a lot of efforts behind it. It's a lot of moving forward, sometimes backward, and it hasn't finished yet. It's important that now that we are here, we stop and think about how far we've come as a society, not only as a women, and what changes we still need to make. We need to celebrate the incredible women who've made history. It's about recognizing their guts, their courage, and their grit, and also looking ahead to keep pushing for equality because we are still far from it. So let's all take a moment to reflect on the progress women have made in their fight for equality, for peace, and for progress. In this very important day for humanity, I think it's also a chance to come together wherever we are with whatever means we can, physically, face-to-face, virtually. But it's really important for women to come together, to connect and take action for real change. We shouldn't forget how far we came and how much effort has been put into this. These events actually provide a platform for everyone, not only for women, bringing together people from different walks of life worldwide to empower, to inspire, and to support each other in the journey towards global gender equality. It's all about building inclusive communities that uplift and benefit individuals and societies on the path to progress. It's also important to acknowledge that no country in the world can claim that it has achieved gender equality, in my opinion. When it comes to gender equality, there's still work to be done everywhere. In some places more, in some places less. That's why our International Women's Day events focus on shedding light on the big global challenges that keep gender inequality alive. We want to spark conservations and actions that move us closer to a world where everyone has equal opportunities, regardless of their gender. So, misinterpretation of feminism is very common, and many people might be scared of it, even women. And I'd like to maybe touch on some of these misunderstandings that exist. A lot of people think feminism can be harmful to men, especially. But this misconception floating around that feminism somehow is against men is completely wrong. And that couldn't be far further from truth. In reality, feminism is all about striving for gender equality, not about one gender, not only about women being better than the other. It's about creating a society where everyone, regardless of gender, is treated with fairness and given the same opportunities. It's about breaking down those harmful stereotypes and expectations that limit both men, women, and all other gender orientations. By promoting equality, feminism aims to alleviate the pressure on men to conform to traditional roles, freeing them from harmful mental and emotional burdens. Ultimately, it's about building a world where everyone can thrive without being confined by gender norms. And I'll give you some example about what all this means. So here, if I could manage to go to my next slide, we have pictures of women driving. It might be interesting for you to consider this. Saudi Arabia is one of the countries that women didn't have right to drive for ages. And when the first woman in Saudi Arabia started to drive and took a video and put it on YouTube, it was one of the most watched, most viewed videos on YouTube because of the significance of this, the importance of breaking that barrier. And interestingly, some men in Australia were commenting at the bottom of that YouTube video saying that what is significance about a woman driving? It's just a woman driving. They couldn't even get that because in Australia, both men and women and everyone else can drive. Anyone who has the ability can drive. And it benefits everyone. Imagine you're a family, you have several children. You can share the responsibility to take children to work and back. If you want to look after your elderly parents or friends or anyone else, again, if both of you can drive, you can share it. So it wasn't known in Australia or many other countries, but not in Saudi Arabia. And that's one example of countries that have specific norms for women, which is not including driving, and specific norm for men, that men are the only one that drive. So imagine how much pressure it puts on men. So if women fight to have the right to drive, for example, it benefits everyone, and there is no need to be scared of equality, really. Another example that I'd like to mention here for gender equality and no need to be scared of is gender pay gap, which is a very big issue everywhere in the world. And again, in some countries, it's a bigger problem, and in some other countries, is a smaller problem. But what does gender pay gap exactly mean? It doesn't mean that men and women who have the same job, they get the same salary. It's not about that. That code equal pay. There is a difference between equal pay and gender pay gap, and I'll explain it a little bit. Equal pay means if we have a school and there is a female teacher and there is a male teacher, both of them, as long as they do the same duties and they have the same role, they get the same salary. It's not always the same in all countries, but in many countries, they fix that. But gender pay gap refers to jobs that traditionally are occupied by women, and those jobs always have lower salary than jobs that are occupied by men. Example, teachers. Almost everywhere in the world, teachers are usually women, and it's one of the jobs that you see always teachers union are fighting for higher level of salary. Another example is nursing. We know that nursing all over the world do fantastic job looking after our health and the health of our loved ones. They are incredible part of the society. But the average salary of nurses compared to many other jobs that are occupied by men is much, much lower. And that's the meaning of gender pay gap. Not to mention, politicians usually have good job, and traditionally politicians are men or other jobs that you can think of. Now, families are made of both men and women. Many of these nurses, many of these teachers are married or have partners, and they live in a family, and their income is important part of the family's income. Now, if these people have addressed the gender pay gap in their countries, so it benefits every gender in that family, men, women, and other gender orientations, by addressing the gender pay gap. So it's another important thing to consider. I also like to take the opportunity and encourage you to maybe listen to this YouTube video that exists on the internet, and I found it incredibly informative. It says feminism needs men and men need feminism, and Michael Flood present that one, and he did really excellent job in bringing all gender orientations together about importance and understanding each other. It's not about fighting with each other. It's not a conflict. It's actually working together toward achieving a more equitable society. Now, let's go to other misconception about feminism. So since the idea of feminism originated, it also branched off like many other idealism in the world. And one of them is feminism. All feminists are not exactly the same. Feminism is definitely not a one-size-fits-all movement. It's made of various branches. Like, for example, we have liberal feminism, you may have heard, socialist feminism, radical feminism, and intersectional feminism. And each brings its own perspective and priorities to the table. It is important to recognize that not all feminists subscribe to the same school of thought, because feminism deals with personal experiences and beliefs. Individuals might define feminism in ways that align with their own views, whether that's sticking to one specific branch or combining elements from different branches. While feminists often share common goals, they're definitely not all cut from the same cloth. And that's really important to remember. The other misconception is that feminism hates traditional roles for women. And that's not true. Feminism is all about choice and freedom. If you like to have traditional role, of course you can have it. And if you don't, no one should force you to have it. It's not about putting down traditional roles. It's about empowering individuals to decide what works best for them. Feminists stand for the idea that everyone should have the opportunity to pursue any career or lifestyle they desire. without being held back by outdated gender stereotypes. It's about breaking down those barriers and creating a world where everyone can follow their passions and dreams, regardless of the gender they have. If a man likes to cook, he must be able to cook. If a woman wants to go and become an astronaut, she must have the opportunity to do that. It's no one else's business to make that decision for people. It's individual choice. And another misconception is that feminisms fight for power and forming matriarchy. It's about addressing the power imbalances between genders, actually, not about establishing a matriarchy or taking power away from anyone, let alone men. Instead, it's about lifting up those who have been historically marginalized and giving them the same rights and opportunities as everyone else. Women have been behind basic human rights for far too long, which has limited their autonomy over their own bodies and lives. Ensuring women have these rights doesn't mean taking away rights from men. It simply means leveling the playing field and promoting equality for all genders. And now that I'm talking about this, I think it's really, really important. I acknowledge the courage Iranian women doing right now in my home country, because I'm originally from Iran, to take that control and authority over their own body, which they don't have, unfortunately. And it's years, over 4 decades, that they're fighting for that. The picture you see here is a very courageous woman called Vida Movahed. And as you may know, in Iran, women are not allowed to choose what they want to wear. It is all chosen by government. Even if you're not Muslim, you must wear hijab when you walk in the street. Even if you're not Iranian and you're a tourist, when you go to Iran as a woman, government immediately, when your plane lands in Iran, even before that, takes control over your outfit and chose for you to wear black color from top to toe, and no one can see you. This courageous woman, in the middle of the street, in one of the busiest streets and roundabouts in Iran, stood on a platform, took her cover, and just stood there until she got arrested, unfortunately. And she did it again and again after she got released from jail. This, however, started a movement by all women, not only in Iran, but also in other countries, who I really appreciate them, to support Iranian women, like in Turkey and many other countries. And now we have the movement of life, women, freedom, and a lot of other things in Iran and many other countries, hoping that women can choose what they want to wear themselves, which is really, really a basic right. And again, as you can see, it's not something that should threaten any man. But unfortunately, in some countries, it does. Moving on from there, feminism is not about losing and winning. It's about winning and winning. Because if we think about feminism as equal opportunity for everyone, we can see everyone will win. Because women are mothers. Women are our sisters. Women are our loved ones in any role. They are our children. And how we could not want progress and equality for them. The rise of women is not about the fall of men. And it's extremely important to always remember that. And everyone can play a role in foraging gender parity. So with that in mind, again, I'd like to thank Dr. Vasha for inviting me to be part of this incredible event. I wish I could be in person with some of you, but I'm pretty sure there will be more opportunities to be in India and see you all. Again, happy International Women's Day to all, and to all incredible women that I already met in India and I'm sure I will meet in the future. Thank you.